Hello, I'm Daniela. In today's video, I want to show you one of my art journals that I love to make. And I want to give you 10 hints and tips to make your journals unique. Let's start out right away. The first tip is to understand that art journals, particularly really rich ones, that are unique and personal to you, take time. This is not something you can whip off overnight or even in a week. I mean, some people can, but for the most part, you can't. The one I'm showing you, well, has been years in the making. It requires patience and understanding that I do this for enjoyment. I create these art journals as a way to practice things and as a way to create. Sometimes I'm not in that mood. Sometimes I don't have the time. But when I do have the time, well, I really enjoy it and it is very meaningful for me. I do save things. And that you'll see throughout the journal. And I say this as I save things throughout my life. It might be a receipt or a wrapper or a piece of fabric or something along my travels that I come across, or when I'm cleaning out the house and I might find something that I don't know why I saved, but it still intrigues me. And I'll put it in a box and keep it. And then when I'm working on art journals, if I need some inspiration, I'll go through that box. And maybe something will spark my interest or follow the theme of that art journal. And I'll show you how I incorporate that into my work. So that leads me to my second tip, is use found objects. They don't have to be pricey or valuable to anyone else. If you like them, they're valuable to you.
Here I have a doily, a little fabric doily, and I just glued it into my journal. I have a felt leaf. It was a coaster. I bought it at a store. I just thought the colors coordinated beautifully with this page. Here I incorporated some buttons onto this button card. Again, I was going with the colors for this theme. I found this leather word at a store. The idea was it was a table scatter to add to your Thanksgiving table, but I thought it was appropriate for my book. I made this little bead, and in my stash I found this cross stitch. I didn't make it. I must have just collected it through the years. So I stitched it onto some heavy-duty paper, and now it looks great inside my journal, capturing the colors. I included a tarot card because I kind of thought that idea was interesting.
Another thing that I like to incorporate into my art journals to make them personal and unique is my paintings and drawings. Now, some are quite simple and others are more elaborate, and most of them are somewhere in between.
They can be very simple, like these painted leaves, or this flower. They can be silly and cute, like these little kids dressed up as Halloween creatures. And I have my drawings of a barn owl, and I just played around with ballpoint pen and just some markers. Just a simple little thing. Fills the page. It helped me create ideas, and I have it. 90-second barn owl right here. I added some more children dressed up for Halloween because I love that. Here I did a simple painting of just colors that I wanted to explore. This kind of reminded me of a beach scene. But I love these colors, and so I incorporated them into the book in a simple way. Here I have some watercolors that I did on paper, and I just attached them. I didn't do them directly on the paper. I just did them on watercolor and then attached them with washi tape and adhesive. I have some more drawings here of some vintage Halloween images. I have a painting here where I did a shorts for, showing how I created that inside my journal.
I like to explore themes in my art journals. Some people just like to have an art journal and they explore anything that comes to mind within that one book. I tend to like to have journals for various themes. That's just how I think. So take those journals and explore your themes through them. But also don't forget that colors can follow that theme. If you have a Christmas journal, well, Christmas colors are great. For my journal, because it's autumn, I love the rich colors of the reds and oranges. And so I incorporate those into my journals, as you can see. Now, after you have your theme, another tip is don't forget the tangents to that theme.
I like to incorporate tangents into my work. And by tangents, I mean nothing about this is particularly autumnal, even though it's an autumn journal. That turquoise and the orange, they're on opposite sides of the color wheel. They're complementary. And so I ran with it. I added a little more blues and played around with something that is clearly not Halloween or autumn related. And I did that a few places in my journal. Here I incorporated turquoise with some butterflies. Again, not necessarily autumn. I used it here again where I played with the painting. And here I went off on a tangent, just a slight tangent. I didn't use turquoise, but I used colors related, but not exact to my work.
Another thing you can add to your art journal is collage. Now this incorporates some of the other tips that I gave you.
I like to use collage in my art journals. So here I took a book page that was just this Ferris wheel, and there was a woman on it, and I decided to make it Halloween. So I added a witch's hat on the woman. I put a ghost in over here. Over here I added a little bit of clouds to incorporate the two. Pumpkins in a field, little crows. Over here I worked a little more with collage, or I took another book page image and I changed it around. This was Mother Hubbard, so I had her dressed up as a witch, and I added costumes to the little boy and girl here. I really liked the way that came out. I added collage to the background just to make it a little interesting. Over here I added some more collage, and what I really particularly liked is I kept with the Halloween theme, I kept with the black and white and some muted colors. And I found this on a tag of something, because it had that eyeball, I thought it was worth saving, and it worked out in my journal.
You can incorporate found objects in your collage depending on what they are. You can explore colors in your collage. And so the collage is another element that adds interest to the viewer who sees the journal. Even if that viewer is just you, it might be a page you're particularly proud of that you really enjoy going back to and looking. All these different collage elements are fun to create, and they are inspiring. It might lead you down a path for future journals or future pages within your journal. I like to combine various media in my journal. Yes, there's different paints and pencils and markers.
I have fabric, I have paper, felt, some stitching, some leather. I enjoy that. I think that makes it very personal, particularly because I use textures.
And that unexpectedness is key for an art journal to make it unique. I also like to add collections of things to my art journal.
You can collect papers and attach them, so you have a use for those special papers that you really like. I used favorite buttons over here from my collection.
The last thing that I really like to incorporate into my art journals are handmade ephemera, or even purchased ephemera, or found ephemera. And that just means a paper product.
So here I printed out a card and I added rub-ons just to make it look Halloweenish. And I can tuck it here. The other ephemera I like to make, and I have a video on this, is creating these Halloween tickets. They look like they came from the carnival, but they're just Halloween themed. And I'll link that video as well. So by incorporating all these things, I have a journal that nobody else has. And I like the way that came out.
Now there are many ways to incorporate various unique things in your art journal. Sometimes just having one cohesive list is a helpful way to do it. Now if you like making art journals, what do you add to yours to make it unique? I'd love to know. I think it would enhance our experience creating art journals. I think art journals are a wonderful way to express yourself, kind of like a diary, but creatively, instead of with words. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. And thank you for joining me today.